That beautiful white dress you wore to last year's council charity ceremony, $1,200. Exactly what disappeared from
Gambling debts. The loans you never mentioned. 48 years of my savings. Gone. My entire future.
I'm sorry, ma'am. The card was declined. Would you like to try another one?
That's impossible. Try it again, please.
They took everything from me. Now, I take everything from them.
6 weeks before she would stand on that stage and destroy her daughter-in-law's life, Gladys Thompson stood at the pharmacy counter, watching her world crumble with a single word.
Declined.
The young pharmacist, barely older than her granddaughter would have been, held the check between manicured fingers like something contaminated. Behind Gladys, the Tuesday morning line grew longer. She recognized most of them. Mrs. Chen from the church choir, young Tommy Barrett, who delivered groceries, old Frank, who'd been sweet on her since Harold died.
There must be some mistake. Try it again.
Ma'am, it says insufficient funds. The check bounced.
Bounced. Such a cheerful word for such a devastating thing. Gladys's hand trembled as she took back the worthless piece of paper. $172 for heart medication. Medicine she'd been taking for 5 years, paid for from the account her son Orville managed. The account holding her entire life savings.
I'll come back.
The October wind bit through her thin cardigan as she walked the 3 blocks to First National Bank. 48 years of carrying coffee and eggs at Daisy's diner, and her feet still ached with every step. She'd thought those days were behind her. Orville had promised they were behind her. The bank's marble lobby felt like a mausoleum. The teller, another young thing with perfect teeth, pulled up her account with a few keystrokes.
The balance in your savings account is $12.37.
The world tilted. Gladys gripped the counter's edge, her knuckles white as bone.
That's impossible. There should be over $150,000 in that account.
According to our records, there were several large withdrawals over the past 8 months, all authorized by the cosigner on the account.
Orville, her son, her baby boy who'd promised to help manage her finances after Harold's death, when the numbers had started swimming before her tired eyes. The teller printed the transaction history, page after page of withdrawals. 5,000 here, 8,000 there. 20,000 transferred to something called Bet Bright Gaming Limited. The papers slipped from Gladys's numb fingers, scattered across the marble floor like autumn leaves. Orville's house sat in the good part of town, where the lawns stayed green even in October and every driveway held 2 cars. Gladys had taken the bus. Her old Corolla had been sold months ago, Orville saying she didn't need it anymore. Another lie, she realized now. She didn't knock. The spare key was still under the ceramic frog where it had always been. The house smelled of Muriel's expensive perfume and something else. Fear, maybe. Or guilt.
Mom, what are you doing here?
Orville stood in the kitchen doorway, his face already crumpling. He'd inherited Harold's weak chin and her own tendency to flush when caught in a lie. At 46, he looked like a guilty child.
Where's my money, Orville?
The silence stretched between them like a taut wire. From upstairs came the sound of footsteps. Muriel's measured tread in her designer heels. Even at home, she dressed like she was heading to one of her charity functions.
Mom, I can explain.
$150,000. 48 years of my life. Where is it?
Muriel had some debts from before. She had a problem, Mom. Online gambling. But she's getting help now, I swear. We just needed to pay off what she owed, or they threatened.
Orville? Who are you talking to?
Muriel descended the stairs like a queen granting an audience. Her white cashmere sweater probably cost more than Gladys's monthly food budget. Her smile, seeing Gladys, never wavered.
Oh, Mother Thompson, we weren't expecting you. You really should call before dropping by. At your age, it's not safe to be wandering around alone.
at your age. As if 70 meant senile. As if Gladys hadn't supported herself since she was 16. Raised Orville alone after Harold's heart gave out. Worked until her knuckles swelled with arthritis.
You stole from me. Stole? What a harsh word. Orville and I made some financial decisions as a family. You gave Orville power of attorney, remember? Perhaps you're confused. It happens with age.
The condescension dripped like honey. Muriel moved closer to Orville, her hand on his arm, proprietary, protective. A united front against the old woman who'd given them everything. Back at her empty house that night, Gladys sat in Harold's old recliner, staring at nothing. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked. The house settling around her like a shroud. She'd left Orville's house without another word. What was there to say? The money was gone. Her son had chosen his wife over his mother. And Muriel, perfect, charitable, beloved Muriel, would continue to smile at church functions and charity galas, while Gladys went back to work. 70 years old, and she'd have to beg Sal for her job back at Daisy's diner. If he'd even take her. If her hands could still carry the heavy trays. If her heart medication could wait until she saved enough for a payment. The newspaper on the side table caught her eye. Muriel's face smiled from the local section. Area woman raises funds for senior center heating initiative. The bitter irony of it twisted in Gladys's chest like a knife. She picked up the paper, studying her daughter-in-law's perfect smile, the white dress she wore like armor. The caption mentioned the St. Michael's Church charity fund Muriel managed, the thousands of dollars raised for the needy. The needy. Gladys laughed, a harsh sound in the empty room. She was the needy now, but as she stared at Muriel's photograph, something cold and hard crystallized in her chest. Not despair, not even anger anymore. Purpose. If Muriel had stolen everything from her, then perhaps it was time to return the favor. But first, Gladys needed to know exactly who she was dealing with. Tomorrow, she'd start watching, learning, planning. After all, she had nothing left to lose. The next morning arrived gray and bitter, matching Gladys's mood perfectly. She dressed in her best remaining outfit, a navy dress from 5 years ago that still fit if she didn't breathe too deep. Sal at Daisy's diner was her first stop.
Gladys, thought you retired. Thought Orville was taking care of you now.
Sal hadn't changed, still the same gruff exterior hiding a decent heart. The diner smelled of bacon grease and coffee, triggering muscle memory in her aching hands.
Things change, Sal. I need the work.
He studied her for a long moment, taking in the dress that didn't quite hide her desperation. The proud set of her shoulders that refused to bend.
Tuesday, Thursday, weekend mornings. Half shifts. Best I can do. Minimum wage, plus tips.
I'll take it.
The familiar weight of the coffee pot, the burn of hot plates through thin towels, the ache spreading from her feet up her spine. It all came back like she'd never left. But something was different now. Every dollar in her tip jar wasn't just money. It was ammunition.
Gladys? Honey, I thought you'd retired. How wonderful to see you back.
Martha Henley, one of the morning regulars, beamed at her with genuine pleasure. Martha, who served on 3 church committees with Muriel.
Oh, you know how it is. Retirement was boring. I missed seeing everyone.
Isn't that just like you? Though Muriel mentioned you'd been having some difficulties. Memory problems, she said. But you seem sharp as ever to me.
Memory problems. So that was Muriel's story. Plant the seeds of doubt about the old woman's reliability. Who would believe a confused elderly woman over the town's charitable angel? But Martha kept talking, as Martha always did, and Gladys listened with new ears. Every detail about Muriel's charity work, her positions, her access to funds, it all mattered now. That Sunday, Gladys attended St. Michael's for the first time in months. She sat in the back, watching Muriel in the third pew, head bowed in perfect piety. After the service, Gladys lingered by the bulletin board, studying the committee listings, the financial report summaries posted for congregation transparency.
Gladys Thompson, as I live and breathe.
Agnes Petrova, her old friend from the church choir, wrapped her in a hug that smelled of lavender and Bengay. Agnes, who'd worked 40 years as a bookkeeper before retiring.
Where have you been hiding? We've missed you at choir practice.
Oh, taking care of things at home. You know how it is.
I do indeed, though I have to say, you look tired, dear. Everything all right?
Gladys hesitated. Agnes was sharp, trustworthy, and most importantly, knew numbers. But trust was a luxury she couldn't afford anymore. Not yet.
Just adjusting to some changes. Agnes, you worked in accounting, didn't you?
42 years at Mitchell & Associates. Why?
I'm trying to understand some financial documents. Maybe we could have coffee sometime?
Agnes's eyes sharpened behind her bifocals. She glanced toward the front of the church where Muriel held court, accepting compliments on her latest fundraising success.
Coffee sounds perfect. Tuesday, my place?
That evening, Gladys stood in her kitchen, staring at the wall calendar. 6 weeks until the annual St. Michael's Charity Gala, the biggest event of the year, where Muriel would receive another humanitarian award for her selfless service. 6 weeks to find proof, 6 weeks to build a case, 6 weeks to prepare for the performance of her life. She thought of Orville's guilty face, Muriel's condescending smile, the empty bank account that held her entire future. Forgiveness wasn't an option. Justice, the legal kind, would take years she didn't have. But revenge could be served in 6 weeks. Gladys pulled out a notebook, the kind she used to use for grocery lists when money mattered less. Now every penny mattered. Every detail mattered. Every weakness in Muriel's perfect facade mattered. At the top of the page, she wrote, "The Last Waltz," because when the music stopped at that charity gala, only one of them would still be standing. And Gladys had danced through harder times than this. She'd survived poverty, widowhood, 48 years of thankless labor. She could survive 6 more weeks. More importantly, she could make sure Muriel didn't. Tuesday morning arrived with unseasonable warmth for late October. Gladys's hands shook slightly as she knocked on Agnes Petrova's door. A manila folder tucked under her arm containing photocopies she'd made at the library, pictures taken with her old flip phone of documents she'd glimpsed in Muriel's home office during Sunday dinner.
Gladys, dear, come in. Coffee's fresh.
Agnes's apartment was exactly what Gladys expected, tidy, practical, with the faint smell of lavender and old books. A calculator sat on the kitchen table next to reading glasses and a magnifying glass.
Now then, what's this about financial documents? You sounded troubled on the phone.
Gladys hesitated. Once she showed Agnes these papers, there would be no going back. But the memory of Muriel's condescending smile, of Orville's weakness, steeled her resolve.
Agnes, I need your help, and I need your discretion. What I'm about to show you, it can't leave this room, not yet.
Agnes's eyes sharpened behind her bifocals. She'd always been perceptive. 40 years of catching accounting errors had trained her to spot when numbers didn't add up. And right now, something about Gladys definitely wasn't adding up.
This is about Muriel, isn't it?
How did you...
Oh, honey, I've been keeping the books for St. Michael's volunteer programs for 3 years now. I see the donations that come in, and I see Muriel's expense reports. Let's just say I've had questions.
Gladys opened the folder, spreading out the blurry but readable photos. Receipts from Nordstrom, Saks Fifth Avenue. Restaurant bills from the Golden Fork, the fanciest place in 3 counties. And most damning, a credit card statement showing payments to something called Lucky Strike Online Gaming.
Dear Lord, these amounts... Gladys, where did you get these?
That's not important. What matters is whether they mean what I think they mean.
Agnes pulled out her calculator, her fingers flying over the keys. She cross-referenced dates on the receipts with a small notebook she pulled from a drawer. Her personal record of church finances.
Look here, October 3rd, Muriel submitted an expense report for community outreach supplies, $1,200. That same day,
She pointed to the Nordstrom receipt.
a white designer dress, same amount.
The pattern continued. Every luxury purchase matched a church expense report. Catering for non-existent events. Office supplies that were actually spa treatments. Donation collection that went straight into Muriel's accounts.
This is embezzlement, plain and simple. We need to go to the police.
With what? Blurry phone photos? My word against the town's beloved charity angel?
Agnes leaned back, understanding dawning on her weathered face.
She took your money too, didn't she? That's why you're back at the diner.
Gladys's silence was answer enough.
How much?
Everything. $150,000. My whole life savings.
Oh, Gladys.
She used it for gambling debts, made Orville drain my account. And now she's spreading rumors that I have memory problems, that I'm confused. Who's going to believe the confused old woman over St. Muriel?
Agnes stood up, her spine straight with indignation. At 72, she moved with the purposeful energy of someone who just found a cause worth fighting for.
We're going to need more than photos. We need the actual documents, the original books.
They're locked in the church office. Muriel has the only key besides Pastor Clarence.
Then we'll have to be creative. The fall festival is this weekend. Everyone will be distracted by the pumpkin contest and apple bobbing. That might be our chance.
Saturday came cloudy and cold. The St. Michael's Fall Festival sprawled across the church grounds, with booths selling everything from homemade jam to raffle tickets. Muriel, naturally, was at the center of it all, organizing the bake sale in a pristine autumn-themed sweater that probably cost more than Gladys made in a month.
Oh, Mother Thompson, so good of you to come support our cause.
Muriel's voice carried just enough volume for others to hear.
Though perhaps you should sit down. You look a bit peaked. These crowds can be so overwhelming at your age.
Several church ladies turned to look, their faces mixing pity with concern. The seeds of doubt about Gladys's mental state, carefully planted and watered by Muriel's casual comments.
I'm fine, thank you. Just enjoying the festival.
Gladys moved away, but not before catching Agnes's eye near the church entrance. Agnes nodded slightly, the signal that the coast was clear. Pastor Clarence was judging the pie contest. Muriel was surrounded by her admirers, and the church office would be empty. The hallway leading to the office felt impossibly long. Every footstep echoed like thunder in Gladys's ears. Her heart, already weakened and without proper medication for weeks now, hammered against her ribs. The door was locked as expected, but Agnes had remembered something crucial: the window. The old rectory windows, installed in the 1960s, had latches that could be jimmied with a butter knife. Agnes kept watch while Gladys, her arthritic fingers protesting, worked the knife into the gap. The latch gave way with a soft pop. They were in. The office smelled of old paper and lemon furniture polish. Muriel's desk sat pristine and organized, every paper in its place. Too organized, too perfect. Like everything about Muriel, it was performance.
The locked drawer, that's where she'd keep them.
Gladys pulled out the bobby pin Agnes had given her, a skill learned from her rebellious teenage years, never forgotten. The lock was simple, meant more for privacy than security. Within minutes, the drawer slid open. Inside lay 2 sets of books. One official, neat, ready for any inspection. The other, hidden beneath, told a different story. Agnes photographed page after page with her smartphone, a gift from her grandson she'd finally learned to use properly.
My God, Gladys, it goes back 3 years. She's stolen over $200,000.
Footsteps in the hallway. Both women froze.
Told her to check the office for more raffle tickets.
Pastor Clarence's voice, getting closer. Gladys's hands fumbled as she shoved the books back, slammed the drawer shut. The bobby pin slipped from her sweating fingers, skittering across the floor.
Window now.
They scrambled through gracelessly, two 70-year-old women trying to move like teenagers. Gladys's hip screamed in protest as she landed in the bushes outside. Agnes helped her up, both of them breathing hard. They rejoined the festival separately, trying to look casual. Gladys bought a jar of apple butter she couldn't afford, her hands still shaking. Agnes sampled cookies at the bake sale, chatting normally despite the criminal evidence now stored in her phone. That evening, back at Agnes's apartment, they studied the photographed ledgers. The scope of Muriel's theft was staggering. Not just church funds, but private donations meant for specific families. The Hendersons' medical fund after their son's accident. The emergency collection for the Martinez family after the fire. All of it diverted, pennies on the dollar reaching the intended recipients while Muriel lived like royalty.
We have her. This is enough to destroy her.
Not yet. These are still just photos, and she'll claim someone else doctored the books, that she's being framed. You know how beloved she is.
Then what do you suggest?
Gladys stared at the evidence of Muriel's crimes, thinking of all the families hurt, all the trust betrayed. Her own loss was just one drop in an ocean of Muriel's greed.
The charity gala, 4 weeks away. The whole town will be there. Media, too. The local news always covers it. That's when we reveal everything. Publicly. Undeniably.
That's risky, Gladys. If we're wrong about any detail.
We're not wrong. But we need more. We need something she can't explain away. Something that shows not just what she did, but who she really is.
The next day at the diner, Gladys served coffee with steady hands despite her exhaustion. Every muscle ached from the previous day's break-in. Her hip throbbed where she'd landed in the bushes. But she smiled at customers, took orders, refilled cups.
Gladys, dear, Muriel mentioned you seemed confused at the festival yesterday. She's worried about you.
Martha Henley again, meaning well but spreading Muriel's poison with every concerned word.
How thoughtful of her. Though I can't imagine what gave her that impression.
Well, she said she saw you near the church offices, looking lost. She was worried you might have wandered off from the festival.
So Muriel had seen them, or suspected. This was a warning shot.
Just looking for the restroom. These old buildings, all the hallways look the same.
Martha patted her hand sympathetically, already crafting the story she'd tell at her book club. Poor Gladys, getting confused, wandering the church halls. How sad. How inevitable at that age. After her shift, Gladys found Orville waiting by her car. The ancient Honda she'd bought for $300 from a customer at the diner, held together by rust and prayer.
Mom, we need to talk.
He looked terrible, hollow-eyed, unshaven, his clothes wrinkled like he'd slept in them. The weak chin trembled as he spoke.
Muriel knows you were in her office.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mom, please, just stop. Whatever you're planning, it won't work. She has lawyers. She has connections. She'll destroy you.
Gladys looked at her son. Really looked at him. When had he become this? This cowering shadow of a man, terrified of his own wife?
She already destroyed me, Orville. She took everything.
It was my fault. I'm the one who...
Yes, it was your fault. You chose her over me. You let her turn you into a thief and a coward.
The words hung between them like a blade. Orville flinched as if physically struck.
I'm trying to protect you.
No, you're trying to protect yourself. There's a difference.
She got in her car, leaving him standing in the parking lot. In the rearview mirror, she saw him pull out his phone, reporting back to Muriel, no doubt. Her own son turned into a spy against her. But that was fine. Let Muriel think she was watching. Let her think she was in control. Because Gladys had learned something important from those ledgers. Muriel's gambling wasn't in the past. The payments to online casinos had continued, hidden in increasingly creative ways. The woman was still addicted, still feeding the beast that would eventually devour her. All Gladys had to do was make sure she was there to watch when it happened. 2 weeks had passed since the break-in. November arrived with bitter winds and early frost, matching the chill that had settled over Gladys's life. Her shifts at the diner grew harder as the weather turned, her joints stiffening in the cold, her hands fumbling with the heavy coffee pots. But every ache reminded her why she was doing this.
Gladys, you need to see this.
Agnes's voice crackled through the old flip phone. It was Tuesday evening, and Gladys had just returned from a grueling lunch shift. Her feet throbbed as she sank into Harold's recliner.
What is it?
Can't say over the phone. Come to my place. Bring coffee, the good stuff from the diner. We're going to need it.
30 minutes later, Gladys sat at Agnes's kitchen table, staring at a computer screen. Agnes had been busy, very busy. The photographed ledgers were now organized into spreadsheets, cross-referenced with public records Agnes had somehow acquired.
Look at this pattern. Every time there's a major charity drive, the gambling site transactions spike 2 days later. She's not even trying to pace herself anymore.
The evidence was damning, but something else caught Gladys's eye, a series of text messages Agnes had printed out.
How did you get these?
My grandson, bright boy, works in IT. I may have asked him for a favor. Don't ask details, plausible deniability and all that.
The messages were between Muriel and Orville. Gladys's hands trembled as she read her son's words. From Orville, the donation shortfall this month is $3,000. Can we cover it? From Muriel, your mother's account still has room on the credit line. From Orville, she'll notice. From Muriel, she won't. Trust me, I've been handling her confusion issue.
They were planning to take more.
There's worse. Keep reading.
Further down, dated just 3 days ago. From Muriel, your mother was in my office. The old witch is up to something. From Orville, I'll talk to her. From Muriel, talk? We're past talking. Start the paperwork for power of attorney over her property. Dr. Morrison owes me a favor. He'll sign off on the mental incompetence evaluation. The room spun. They weren't just trying to discredit her. They were planning to have her declared mentally incompetent, to take her house, the last thing she owned, free and clear.
We need to move faster. The gala is still 2 weeks away.
No, the gala is still the target. But now we know what we're really fighting. This isn't just about money anymore.
The next morning at the diner, Dr. Morrison walked in for his usual breakfast. Gladys watched him from behind the counter. Mid-50s, soft around the middle, with the guilty expression of a man with secrets. He'd been the one to sign Harold's death certificate, to prescribe her heart medication. She'd trusted him.
Morning, doctor. The usual?
Gladys. Yes, thank you. Though, how have you been feeling lately? Any confusion? Memory issues?
So it had already started. The evaluation. Every word she said now would be measured, weighed, potentially used against her.
Sharp as ever, doctor. Why do you ask?
Oh, just Muriel mentioned she was concerned. Family looking out for family, you know.
Gladys smiled, pouring his coffee with a steady hand, despite the rage boiling inside her.
How thoughtful. Though I wonder what kind of family steals your life savings and then tries to have you committed.
The coffee cup rattled against the saucer as she set it down. Dr. Morrison's face went pale.
I don't know what you...
I know about the favor you owe Muriel. I know what she's asking you to do. And I know you're too much of a coward to refuse her.
She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper that only he could hear.
But here's what you should know, doctor. Agnes Petrova and I have been documenting everything. Every stolen dollar, every falsified record, every text message, including the ones about you.
His hands shook as he reached for his wallet, throwing a 20 on the counter for a $6 breakfast.
I have to go.
Yes, you do. And when Muriel asks you about that evaluation, you might want to reconsider. Prison is hard on soft men like you.
He practically ran from the diner. Gladys watched him go, knowing she'd just painted an even bigger target on her back. But she'd also bought time. That Sunday at church, the atmosphere was electric with barely concealed tension. Muriel sat in her usual pew, but her perfect composure showed cracks. Her smile was too bright, her laugh too loud. She kept checking her phone, fingers flying over the screen. Pastor Clarence delivered his sermon on forgiveness and truth, his eyes occasionally finding Gladys in the back row. Did he know? Had he always known what Muriel was doing with the funds? After the service, Gladys was heading for the door when a hand caught her elbow. She turned to find Beatrice Morrison, the doctor's wife.
Gladys, might I have a word?
They stepped into the empty Sunday school room. Beatrice was trembling, her usual perfectly coiffed appearance slightly disheveled.
My husband told me what you said. About Muriel. About the money.
And?
She has something on him. On us. Photos from a mistake he made years ago. An affair. She's been blackmailing him for free medical services. Prescriptions without questions. But what she's asking now, declaring you incompetent, he can't do it. He could lose his license.
Another victim, another life under Muriel's thumb.
Help me expose her, and those photos disappear with her credibility.
What do you need?
Access to his medical files. Specifically, any prescriptions written for Muriel in the last 3 years.
That's illegal.
So is blackmail. So is theft. So is what she did to me and God knows how many others.
Beatrice nodded slowly, decision crystallizing in her eyes.
Tuesday noon. He has hospital rounds then. I'll leave the back door unlocked.
Tuesday arrived cold and bright. Agnes waited in the car while Gladys slipped through Dr. Morrison's back entrance. The office smelled of antiseptic and fear. Or maybe that was just her imagination. The files were exactly where Beatrice said they'd be. Muriel's medical history told its own story. Prescriptions for anxiety medication, massive doses, sleeping pills, pain medication for injuries that didn't exist. All of it pointing to someone feeding multiple addictions, not just gambling. But the real treasure was at the back of the file: insurance claims. Muriel had been billing insurance for non-existent therapy sessions, collecting the reimbursements, another income stream for her habits. Gladys photographed everything, her flip phone's camera clicking in the silent office. She was almost done when she heard voices in the front reception area.
Told you to keep the back door locked.
I must have forgotten.
Muriel, here, now. Gladys shoved the files back, her heart hammering. The back door was blocked. Muriel would see her if she tried to leave. The voices grew closer.
I need those evaluation papers signed today. The old woman is becoming a problem.
I can't just declare someone incompetent without proper assessment.
You can and you will, unless you want those photos sent to the medical board.
Gladys pressed herself behind the door as it opened. Muriel swept in, her perfume cloying in the small space. Through the crack, Gladys could see her daughter-in-law's face, no longer beautiful, but twisted with desperation and greed.
Where's her file?
I haven't created one yet.
Then do it now. Backdate it 6 months. Show a pattern of deterioration.
This was it, the proof she needed. Gladys carefully pulled out her phone, hitting record on the voice memo function.
Muriel, this is fraud, medical fraud. I could go to prison.
We're already past that point, aren't we? Your illegal prescriptions, the insurance fraud. We're in this together, doctor. So stop whining and start writing.
The scratching of a pen, the rustle of papers, evidence of conspiracy being created in real time, all captured on Gladys's phone.
Good. File this immediately. I want her served with papers by the end of the week.
Footsteps heading toward the door. Gladys held her breath, pressing further back. The door swung wider.
Muriel, there's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent about the charity gala.
What? Who?
Agnes Petrova. She's in the waiting room.
God bless Agnes, creating a distraction.
That old busybody. Fine, I'm coming.
The door closed. Gladys counted to 30, then slipped out the back entrance. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely manage the car door handle.
Did you get it?
Everything, including a full confession on tape.
Then we're ready.
Almost. There's one more thing I need to find. The nuclear option.
That evening, Gladys sat at her computer, an ancient desktop Orville had given her years ago, back when he still cared. She'd never been good with technology, but desperation was an excellent teacher. Bet-Bright Gaming Limited, the site where her money had gone to die. She created an account using a fake name, exploring the interface, and there it was, a transaction history search function. She entered Muriel's email address, the one she'd seen on the medical files. Password reset request. The security question popped up. Mother's maiden name? Gladys smiled grimly. She'd done her research. Muriel's mother, the society woman who'd lost everything when Muriel was 12, had been born Catherine Ashford. Access granted. The screen filled with numbers that made Gladys's stomach turn. Not just the $150,000 from her account. Muriel had gambled away over $400,000 in 3 years. The charity funds were just the tip of the iceberg. But the real shock was the most recent activity. Yesterday, the day after Gladys had confronted Dr. Morrison, Muriel had deposited another $10,000 and lost it all in 3 hours. She was spiraling, desperate, making mistakes. Gladys downloaded everything. Screenshots, transaction records, even the chat logs where Muriel begged for credit extensions. This wasn't just evidence of theft anymore. This was evidence of a woman completely out of control. The gala was in 10 days. 10 days to organize everything, to prepare for the performance of her life. 10 days until Muriel's world came crashing down. Gladys looked at the photo on her mantle, Harold, herself, and young Orville at his high school graduation. All smiling, all believing in a future that had turned to ash. She picked up the phone and dialed Agnes.
It's time to prepare the presentation. And Agnes, we're going to need a projector.
December 1st arrived with an ice storm that turned the town into a crystal palace. The St. Michael's Church Charity Gala would proceed regardless. Nothing stopped Muriel's biggest night of the year. Gladys stood in her bedroom, staring at the black dress she'd worn to Harold's funeral. Tonight, she'd wear it to bury her son's marriage and her daughter-in-law's reputation.
You ready for this?
Agnes stood in the doorway, dressed in her own formal attire. She'd been staying with Gladys for the past 2 days, ever since they'd received word that Muriel had expedited the incompetency hearing for Monday. 3 days from now, tonight was their only chance.
I've been ready since the day she stole my life.
They'd rehearsed the plan dozens of times. Agnes's grandson had helped them prepare a presentation on a USB drive, complete with automated slideshow. Every piece of evidence organized, labeled, impossible to deny. The projector was already at the church, part of the standard setup for the gala presentations.
The media will be there by 6. Local news, the newspaper, even that blogger who covers city council.
Good. The more witnesses, the better.
The church hall was transformed into winter wonderland. White lights twinkled from every surface, ice sculptures adorned the tables, and a string quartet played in the corner. The town's elite mingled in their finest clothes, champagne glasses catching the light like liquid diamonds. Muriel stood near the stage, radiant in a silver gown that must have cost thousands. She was holding court with the mayor, the bank president, even Judge Harrison, who would be presiding over Gladys's competency hearing on Monday.
Mom, what are you doing here?
Orville appeared at her elbow, his face pinched with worry. He looked terrible, thinner, gray-faced, his tuxedo hanging loose on his frame.
It's a public event, Orville. I bought a ticket like everyone else.
You need to leave. Muriel will...
Muriel will what? Have me committed? She's already trying that.
Her son's face crumpled with shame.
I tried to stop her. The competency hearing. I told her it was too far.
But not stealing my life savings? That wasn't too far?
Mom, please, just go. I'm begging you.
For a moment, looking at his desperate face, Gladys almost wavered. This was still her baby boy, the child she'd raised alone, sacrificed everything for. But then she saw Muriel laughing with the judge, no doubt ensuring Monday's outcome, and her resolve hardened to steel.
I'm staying, Orville. And if you have any decency left, you'll want to see what happens next.
Pastor Clarence took the stage at 7 sharp, beginning the formal program. Awards were presented, donations celebrated. The mayor gave a speech about community values. Through it all, Gladys waited, the USB drive burning like a coal in her pocket.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. This year's Humanitarian of the Year award goes to Muriel Thompson.
Thunderous applause filled the hall. Muriel glided to the stage, her smile perfect, practiced, predatory. She took the crystal award, holding it up to catch the light.
Thank you all so much. This community has given me everything: purpose, friendship, the opportunity to serve. I'm humbled by your trust in me to manage our charitable funds, to be a steward of your generosity.
This was it. Gladys stood, her movement catching Agnes's eye across the room. Agnes nodded, already moving toward the projection booth.
Excuse me.
Her voice cut through Muriel's speech like a blade through silk. Heads turned. Muriel's smile flickered, but held.
Mother Thompson, how lovely that you could join us despite your difficulties. My only difficulty has been discovering exactly what you've done with the money entrusted to you.
She walked toward the stage, every eye in the room following her. The cameras from the local news swung in her direction.
But I'm not here to make accusations. I'm here to show everyone the truth.
The projector flickered to life behind Muriel. The first slide appeared, a simple title. Where did the money go?
This is ridiculous. Someone stop her. She's confused. She has dementia. Then I'm sure everyone will see that clearly. Unless, of course, my confused mind somehow fabricated 3 years of bank records.
The next slide appeared. Muriel's charity account statements side by side with her personal shopping receipts. The dates matched perfectly. The amounts matched perfectly. The room began to murmur. Muriel, what is this?
It's doctored. She's lying.
More slides. The gambling site transactions. The insurance fraud claims. The fake expense reports. Each one documented, dated, undeniable. The murmur grew to shocked exclamations.
The Henderson Medical Fund, meant for their son's cancer treatment. $20,000. Would you like to see where it really went?
Click. Screenshots from Bet Bright Gaming. Muriel's account. 20,000 deposited. 20,000 lost in one weekend.
Oh my God. My son. We couldn't afford the experimental treatment because the fund was depleted.
Mrs. Henderson's voice broke. Her son had died 6 months ago. The presentation continued relentlessly. The Martinez Fire Fund. Gambled. The Senior Center Heating Initiative spent on designer clothes. The youth program supplies. Converted to spa treatments.
And for those wondering if this is all historical, here's yesterday's activity.
The final slides showed Muriel's desperate recent gambling, funded by a new source, a loan taken out against the church building itself, using her position as financial administrator.
She mortgaged the church?
His voice cracked with disbelief and rage.
Orville, tell them your mother is insane.
But Orville stood frozen, staring at the evidence of his wife's crimes. His face had gone gray as ash.
There's one more thing. I have a recording from Dr. Morrison's office, made 3 days ago. Would you like to hear Muriel ordering him to falsify medical records to have me declared incompetent?
She pulled out her phone, Agnes having helped her connect it to the sound system. Muriel's voice filled the hall, clear and damning.
Then do it now. Backdate it 6 months. Show a pattern of deterioration.
Muriel, this is fraud. Medical fraud.
We're already past that point, aren't we? Your illegal prescriptions, the insurance fraud. We're in this together, Doctor.
Judge Harrison stood up, his face purple with rage.
Call the police, now.
No, you don't understand. I can explain.
She turned to flee, but the crowd had closed in. There was nowhere to run. Her perfect mask finally cracked, revealing the desperate, grasping creature beneath.
It's not fair. I deserved that money. I work harder than any of you. I organize everything. I run everything. I deserve to be paid. You were paid, Muriel, in trust, in respect, in love from this community, and you spat on all of it.
The police arrived within minutes. Someone had called them as soon as the presentation started. They read Muriel her rights as the cameras rolled, as the entire town watched the fall of their false angel. As they led her away, Muriel turned back to look at Gladys. For a moment, their eyes met, the thief and the victim, the predator and the prey who'd turned the tables.
You destroyed me. No, Muriel, you destroyed yourself. I just made sure everyone could see it.
The hall erupted in chaos after the police left, people shouting, crying, demanding answers. Pastor Clarence trying to maintain order. The news crews scrambling for interviews. Gladys found Orville sitting on the church steps outside, head in his hands. She sat beside him, the cold stone seeping through her dress.
I knew. Part of me knew what she was. But I loved her, Mom, and I was so weak.
Yes, you were.
Can you ever forgive me?
Gladys thought of her empty bank account, her months of humiliation, the medication she'd gone without. She thought of Mrs. Henderson's dead son, the families left without heat, the trust betrayed.
Forgiveness isn't mine to give anymore, Orville. You'll have to earn it from yourself, and from everyone else you helped her hurt.
She stood, leaving him there in the cold. Agnes was waiting by the door with her coat.
You did it, Gladys. You actually did it.
We did it. I couldn't have done any of this without you.
What now?
Gladys looked back at the chaos in the hall. People comforting Mrs. Henderson, Pastor Clarence on the phone with the bishop, Judge Harrison assuring everyone that Monday's hearing was obviously canceled.
Now I go home. Tomorrow the lawyers can sort out the mess. Tonight, I just want to sit in my chair, in my house that's still mine, and have a cup of tea.
That sounds perfect. Mind if I join you?
I'd like that.
As they walked to the car, snow began to fall. Soft, clean, covering the ugliness of the night in pristine white. Behind them, the church bells rang the hour, their bronze voices carrying across the frozen town. The last waltz was over, and Gladys was the only one left standing. 2 weeks after the gala, Gladys stood in the courthouse hallway, watching the crowds surge past. The preliminary hearing had just concluded. Muriel faced 17 counts of embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. The judge denied bail. She'd spend Christmas in county jail, awaiting trial.
The prosecutor says with the evidence we provided, she's looking at 15 to 20 years.
It won't bring back Mrs. Henderson's son.
No, but it might save the next one.
They walked out into the December afternoon. Main Street was decorated for Christmas. Garlands and lights that Muriel would have organized in years past. The church had already found a new treasurer, a retired banker with an impeccable reputation who'd volunteered to audit everything going back 5 years. At Daisy's Diner, Sal had hung a sign in the window. Gladys Thompson, Hero of the Month, free coffee for life. Gladys had laughed when she saw it, then cried, then gone back to work because the lunch rush didn't serve itself.
Gladys, you got visitors?
She looked up from the coffee pot to find Dr. Morrison and his wife Beatrice standing awkwardly by the counter. The doctor had lost his medical license but avoided jail time by cooperating fully with the investigation.
Gladys, we wanted to apologize and to thank you.
You freed us from her hold, from the fear. We know it doesn't make up for what we did, but
She placed an envelope on the counter.
it's not much, but it's a start on repaying what was taken from you.
Gladys opened it, a check for $5,000. Not much against $150,000, but it was something.
Thank you.
There'll be more. The court ordered restitution, the church fundraiser. People want to make this right.
People want to feel better about missing what was right in front of them.
The words came out harsher than she'd intended, but she was tired of being the town's object of pity, their chance at redemption. That evening, Gladys found Orville waiting on her porch. He'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks, hair going gray, deep lines carved around his eyes. The divorce papers in his hand told their own story.
She's fighting it. From jail. Says she won't give me a divorce unless I pay for her defense attorney.
And?
And I told her to go to hell.
It was the first time she'd heard strength in his voice in years.
I got a job. Henderson's Hardware. Mr. Henderson said everyone deserves a second chance, especially from someone who understands what Muriel took from people.
The Hendersons, who'd lost their son, offering grace to the man who'd enabled their loss. The irony wasn't lost on either of them.
That's good, Orville.
Mom, I know I can't fix what I did, but I want to try. The lawyer says with the divorce and the restitution settlement, I might be able to pay back $30,000 within 2 years.
It was never just about the money.
I know. It was about trust, about family, about me choosing her over you.
He stood to leave, then paused at the steps.
I'm going to earn your forgiveness, Mom, however long it takes.
Start by earning your own.
After he left, Gladys sat in Harold's chair, looking at the pile of mail on her side table. Insurance settlements, restitution notices, letters from lawyers. By the time everything was settled, she might recover half of what she'd lost. Enough to stop working. Not enough for the comfortable retirement she'd planned. But that was all right. She'd learned something about comfort these past months. It made you soft, made you trust too easily, made you miss the wolves dressed as sheep. Christmas Eve arrived with fresh snow and a knock at the door. Gladys opened it to find Agnes, the Henderson family, Sal from the diner, and a dozen others from the church.
We're not leaving you alone on Christmas.
They flooded in with casseroles and cookies, presents, and warmth. Someone had brought a small tree. The Henderson children decorated it with paper ornaments while their parents set up dinner in the kitchen.
You gave us justice, Gladys. Our son is still gone, but at least we know why. At least she can't hurt anyone else.
They ate together, laughed together, cried together. For the first time in months, the house felt alive. When they sang carols, Gladys heard her own voice joining in, rusty but true. Around midnight, after everyone had gone, Agnes stayed behind to help clean up.
You know, there's talk of running you for church treasurer.
I can barely balance my own checkbook.
But you can spot a thief. That's what they need now, someone who won't be fooled again.
Gladys considered it a position of respect, of responsibility, of trust.
Maybe. Ask me again when the trial's over.
The trial began in February. Gladys testified for 3 days, laying out everything in meticulous detail. Muriel sat at the defense table, no longer the polished society woman. Jail had stripped away the facade. Her roots were showing gray, her face gaunt, her hands shaking with withdrawal from the pills she could no longer access. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, Muriel didn't react. She stared straight ahead as the judge pronounced sentence. 18 years, with possibility of parole in 12. As the bailiffs led her away, she turned to look at Gladys one last time. No words, no plea, just a hollow stare from a woman who'd gambled everything and lost. Spring came slowly that year. Gladys reduced her hours at the diner to twice a week. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The restitution payments had started coming in. Not a fortune, but enough. She planted a garden in the backyard, the first in decades. Tomatoes and herbs, flowers Harold would have loved. Orville came by on Sundays to help with the heavy work, their conversations careful but gradually warming. One evening in May, as she sat on the porch watching the sunset, Agnes joined her with 2 cups of tea.
You heard Pastor Clarence is retiring?
I heard. Time for fresh blood, he said.
He recommended you for the church board, said the community needs someone who sees clearly, who won't be swayed by pretty words and false charity.
I'm 71 years old, Agnes.
And sharper than people half your age. You saved this town from itself, Gladys. Don't you think you've earned the right to help guide it?
Gladys sipped her tea, considering. A year ago, she'd been ready to fade away, to accept the scraps life offered. Now she was being asked to lead, to protect, to ensure no one else suffered what she'd endured.
I'll think about it.
But she was already decided. She'd learned that retirement wasn't about stopping work. It was about choosing work that mattered. On a humid June evening, exactly 1 year after that terrible day at the pharmacy, Gladys stood at the podium in St. Michael's Church. The congregation had just voted unanimously to appoint her as treasurer and board member.
I accept this position with humility and determination. We've all learned hard lessons about trust, about oversight, about the dangers of blind faith. I promise you this: every dollar donated to this church will go where it's intended. Every claim will be verified. Every good intention will be protected from those who would exploit it.
The applause was warm, genuine. In the 3rd row sat Orville, pride mixing with shame on his face. He'd kept his promise, working double shifts, living in a studio apartment, sending every spare penny toward restitution. They weren't mother and son the way they'd been, but they were something, a work in progress. After the meeting, Gladys walked through the cemetery behind the church. Harold's grave was well tended. She came every week now. The headstone beside his waited for her, but not yet. Not for years yet, she hoped.
I did it, Harold. I got through the storm. Different than we planned, but I'm still standing.
The wind rustled through the oak trees, carrying the scent of summer flowers. Somewhere, Muriel sat in a cell, living with her choices. Somewhere, families were rebuilding what she'd torn down. But here, now, Gladys Thompson stood in the evening light, keeper of trust, guardian against deception. She'd lost her innocence, her savings, her faith in family. But she'd gained something harder and more valuable: the knowledge that she could survive anything, expose any lie, protect herself and others from predators dressed as angels. The last waltz was over. The music had changed, and Gladys was learning new steps, one day at a time.
Tomorrow, I think I'll plant roses. Harold always wanted roses.
She walked home through the gathering dusk, her steps steady, her head high. Behind her, the church bells rang the hour, clear, true, uncompromised. The sound followed her home like a benediction, like a promise, like the echo of justice finally served. Thank you for listening to this complete audiobook. If this story touched you, please subscribe and like this video to support more quality audiobook content. Share your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. Hit the bell for notifications about our next story. See you in the next audiobook.